Hello everyone and thank you for tuning into TradeChat. My name is Panzer and today I'm going to be telling you some of my predictions for Blizzcon 2017. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you do, remember to rate it thumbs up. I want to start off the video with the least exciting stuff and move on to what I believe is the most exciting stuff. So I just want to get this out of the way now. I don't really think we're going to hear anything about Destiny. Destiny is not a real Blizzard game, even though it's in the Blizzard launcher. If we do hear anything about Destiny, I think it'll just be esports related because Blizzard has the new esports arena in Pasadena, and maybe there's some opportunity for Destiny to use that. But I think other than that, not going to hear much about Destiny. We also know that we're not going to hear much about Diablo. I'm optimistic that it won't be absolutely no news, but there is a good chance it's going to be absolutely no news. I think if we do get any sort of Diablo announcement, it will be something that is small, like maybe a new class, and it will also be like far into the future. Based on the panel schedule and stuff, it doesn't seem like they would really have time to deep dive into anything, which is why, in tandem with them saying they weren't going to announce anything big, I really highly doubt we're going to see any big announcements from Diablo this year. Unfortunately. I don't think we're going to see a whole lot in the StarCraft field either. I know I've seen a lot of people talk about, possibly a new expansion or something like that. I don't think we're going to get a StarCraft expansion. I think that a lot of what they'll talk about will be esports with the whole Overwatch League, the new esports arena. I think they're going to focus a lot on the esports side of StarCraft. And I think that if we get a actual player announcement, something that would be game related, it'll be possibly a new campaign or a co-op campaign, something like that. And I think that Blizzard will probably give us an update on what's going on with the Blizzard Skynet collaboration involving AI gaming, which honestly, I'm not even comfortable talking about. I think it's terrifying that we're teaching robots strategies of intergalactic war. I feel like this is how Overwatch started, and maybe we shouldn't bring this upon ourselves. Coming down a little bit, I do think there is a teeny tiny eensy-weensy possibility, long shot, that we may get an announcement of a rebooted StarCraft Ghost. Now, the reason I say this is because last November, Blizzard was posting about jobs for an unannounced first-person shooter game. By that time, Overwatch was already well out, and most of the games that seemed to be in development were mobile. I highly doubt a mobile game would be a first-person shooter, and StarCraft Ghost was canceled. That was a first-person shooter, and I feel like with all of the Nova co-op missions, all of that kind of stuff that StarCraft is sort of delving into, especially with Nova being in Heroes of the Storm, I feel like they could totally have a spin-off IP that featured Nova and it was a first-person shooter. I feel like this is very unlikely. Let me be clear, I don't think this is going to happen, but I sure would like it if it did. In the Hearthstone world, I think that we will probably get a new expansion with a new mechanic and maybe some new card teasers. I don't know if we'll also find out when some of the current decks will be removed from standard mode. I don't really know a ton about Hearthstone, so I don't want to come across as some Hearthstone guru. I stopped playing Hearthstone around the time that Goblins and Gnomes came out because I'm bad. I'm just bad. And I understand there's some people in this world that think challenge is fun, but I don't know. There's only so many times you can get beat before you feel very defeated, and Hearthstone didn't take long to defeat me. But I do think we're going to get a new expansion. I'd originally thought it was an adventure mode, but I think they actually announced they weren't doing adventure modes anymore. So I guess it'll be an expansion. I've seen a couple people online say that maybe we'll get a new class, like a monk or something like that. But again, these aren't really my thoughts. These are just little whispers among the internet's rumor mill places. So I don't know. I think the big focus, as always, is going to be esports. We might hear some updates to how esports is going to be handled now, especially with how big Overwatch League is, and we'll get to that in a minute. But I think we'll find out more about esports more than anything. But we'll probably get an expansion reveal. And the thing that I'm excited for in the world of Hearthstone that I definitely think is going to happen is a new cinematic like their Hearth and Home cinematic from Gamescom. So I do think there'll be another installment of that little series, and I'm really, really looking forward to that because I thought that was really cute and heartwarming, and I liked it a lot. Oh, one last thing is that someone on my Twitter, Eric E. Swain, suggested that possibly we would see some Switch support announced for Hearthstone. And while I hadn't thought of this on my own, I think that that's a really viable idea. And I think that the way that the Switch is laid out would lend itself really well to Hearthstone. And as somebody who swore off Hearthstone, I would probably play it if it was on Switch because it's so convenient. Switch is the most convenient console of all time, and I just want to play every game that's on it because it's so fun. on to Heroes of the Storm. I think Heroes of the Storm is a super fun game, and I feel like it's really, like, whenever they make changes and patches, it feels like they're constantly taking community feedback into account. Like, they just announced today that when you get the Halloween loot boxes, you'll always get a Halloween item in that loot box, which is something that people were raging about during the summer games. So, anyways, I like Heroes of the Storm. That's the TLDR of that, but I think we're going to see a lot of Heroes of the Storm announcements at BlizzCon. I think that it will be likely we'll get at least one new hero, if not 2 or 3. If there was going to be a Destiny announcement, maybe they would add a Destiny hero into Overwatch or into Heroes of the Storm. I don't think so, though, because it's not technically a Blizzard IP, but it would be cool if they did, because it would open up a whole world of things that could be done. But I think more likely we will see maybe a Hanzo or Alexstrasza or maybe even like Deathwing. I think that Deathwing has already been data mined. I think we already know Deathwing is coming, but I think those are the 3 most likely heroes that we're going to see. And I also think they'll announce some sort of new thematic event. Warcraft would be the logical next step, in my opinion, and they have so much to work with there. They could do an event, a brawl, and a map that were all based on like a BG, like Warsong Gulch or Alteric Valley. So I think there's a lot of things they could do with Heroes of the Storm, and I'm excited to see what they decide to do. Oh yeah, plus esports. They're probably going to talk about Heroes of the Storm esports, because esports! As far as Overwatch goes, I think we'll probably get a new hero, which is sort of weird considering there hasn't been any build-up. And if you think back to last BlizzCon, there was so much around Sombra, and now I feel like we don't really have much about a new hero, but that's probably the big plot twist. That's probably the build-up, is that there is no build-up. That's some Jeff Kaplan nonsense if I've ever heard it. So I do think we're going to get a new hero, probably a defense hero because we haven't gotten one yet. Maybe a new brawl, maybe a new map. I'm not sure. We will see. I think the most obvious prediction for Overwatch-related BlizzCon stuff has got to be the reveal of the Overwatch League and the teams and the team members, and we know a couple so far, but I think it's going to be a whole grand to-do, like a big introduction to the world of the Overwatch League, and I'm really, really, really excited about it. I think the majority of the time spent on Overwatch will probably be more on the Overwatch League than on the actual game, and I also wouldn't be surprised to see a focus on Overwatch outside of the game entirely, so things like books and comics and maybe an audio drama series like they're doing with WoW, maybe a whole animated series beyond the cinematics that we've seen in the past. Who knows? All of this is so new. It's really hard to speculate where they're going to go with this, and Overwatch has become so big so quickly that I, for one, am just so excited to see what happens with Overwatch at this BlizzCon. Oh, and obviously we're getting an Overwatch cinematic. Duh. And finally, World of Warcraft. Now, I am going to talk about some other stuff and some possibility new stuff after this, but I think the big topic of this video should be World of Warcraft, so it is! Now, I can't really talk about World of Warcraft at BlizzCon without referencing this leak that took place back in April, and I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know where this was leaked from, so I don't know if it came from, like, Reddit or 4chan or somewhere like that. I saw an article on geekreply.com, and this is where they kind of had it all mapped out for me. Now, again, I don't know where this leak came from. I doubt it's 100% accurate, but some of the details in this leak are specific enough that they seem like they could be at least on the right track. So we're gonna take all this with a grain of salt. It's probably somebody just doing a really good job guessing, but they suggested that this would be a Naga-themed expansion with the main villains being Azshara and N'Zoth, which I feel is very likely. I mean, we learned a lot about Azshara in Suramar and Nighthold, and we thought N'Zoth was going to be in Legion, and he wasn't, and we still have all these whispery old god things happening with Shadow Priests, and just, there's a lot going on, okay? There's a lot going on, and it really doesn't seem far in right field for that to be possible. Now, I want to read the plot because I don't want to paraphrase it and screw it up. It says, "The Burning Legion has diverted the attention of the heroes of Azeroth away from their homelands. As the war wages on Argus to stop the Legion, Azshara continues her preparations in carrying out the will of N'Zoth by readying an invasion that will cover every continent on the planet. The Naga Empire has been building its forces and patiently waiting for the perfect time to strike. Using a twisted form of black magic and power granted to her from N'Zoth, Azoth, Azara will carry out a ritual that will cause the submerged Naga Empire to rise from the depths. Both Horde and Alliance are unprepared for such an attack, and as a result, many iconic locations will be destroyed. In order to defend the lands that the factions of Azeroth hold dear, both major factions must band together, even amid the hatred that they both feel for each other. Inventions created by gnomes and adopted by goblins will be created and refined to help curtail the invading Naga. Gifted and mechanically intelligent gnomes and goblins will pilot massive suits of armor that will be instrumental in holding off the Naga invasions. These tinkers will be looked at by the rest of the Horde and Alliance as essential to the military efforts that will greatly turn the tide of battle. So obviously, with this description, they are suggesting that we would be getting Tinkers as a new class, which I'm obsessed with the idea of. Anytime in the past, probably 2 years, that anyone has asked me, what would you like as a new class? They've always said I would love like a Mechromancer, a Technomancer, some sort of Mechaneer, or a Tinker. I love the idea of gadgets and gizmos and gears and kind of building all of this stuff with this half magic, half technology, steampunky sort of thing. I am 100% in. I love goblins. I think they're one of the best races in the game. I also feel like if Tinker was a thing that happened, we would very likely see those Goblin and Morgan visual upgrades, because it would just make sense to do that with something being so goblin-centric. Now, what's weird, though, is that this leak, I want to use the word leak in quotes because I don't know if this is accurate at all. This leak actually suggests that we would get also a new race, which would be Naga, and that it would be neutral. I still am not on board with the idea of Naga as a race, because I'm just not. I can't even give you, the idea of armor and transmog and pants and boots, just, I don't know. Would they just not wear pants ever? Would they be the great pantsless fishy class? I don't see it. I feel like a Tinker is so likely, and if a Tinker comes out, I can't make any promises to my guild that I will remain as a Shaman main, because that is my dream. You are discussing my dream right now. I would definitely be a Goblin Tinker. That would be friggin' amazing. Gambling, tinkering, loitering. Oh, it'd be so good. Anyways, this leak also suggests that there would be some sort of faction allegiance system. So there would be stuff where Horde and Alliance were separate, Horde and Alliance were together, but you were always kind of proud of your own faction, even if you had to work together with the other faction to defeat the threat. The reason that I think this could possibly have some accuracies, even though it is like a leak, is specifically because they named a bunch of the zones. The first zone is called Skintal Reef, which is a Naga leveling zone, levels 1 to 20. And then Kultiris is the next on there. And Kultiris was actually data mined very recently in like 7.25 or 7.3 as being future expansion type stuff. Like the thought was that Kultiris would be where we would go to level from like 100 to 101 type thing. So the fact that this was in something back in April when we didn't data mine it for a significant amount of time makes me feel that some of this could possibly be accurate. The other names of the zones mentioned were Isle of Kazan, Zandalar, Telebeam, and the Drowned Reaches, with 2 max level zones being Gishan Taverns and Nazjatar. They also suggested that there would be 2 new battlegrounds, a new arena, 3 raids available at launch with more in the future, 12 dungeons at launch, and 10 of them were new, with 2 of them being updated previous dungeons. And they also talked about where is it? There was something else in here. Oh, that the new neutral city would be undermined, and that goblins and gnome tinkers would be able to make boats that other people would be able to ride to help with this whole waterborne sort of naval threat. Again, I don't think this leak is 100% accurate, but I think this is some really solid theory. I don't think Naga are going to be a new race. I know that is a popular theory right now. I don't think it's going to be a thing, though. I think part of my feelings about that is that Naga to me are very reminiscent of like the Broken, where they're sort of like mindless. And I'm not super into lore, so like take all of this with a grain of salt. But Naga to me seem like they're controlled by something, like they're not independently thinking. So they would have to like do a whole, I don't know, I could be totally wrong. I thought all of the Naga were kind of controlled by Queen Azara, so it wouldn't make sense that we would have Naga to fight Naga. I don't know, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. What would make sense, however, is if we got the the Night Elf, High Elf guys that were in Suramar. What are they? The Kaldori? Is that what they're called? That's probably not right at all. But the real skinny, the crack elves. The crack elves in Suramar, I could totally see them being a neutral race. I mean, we have all these gorgeous models in game for them that are largely going to be unused when we move on to the next expansion. So who knows? I think that's possible. Like I said, I think that if we do have goblins, if we do have goblins being so central to the idea of like a tinker or a mechaneer, that we would get those new goblin and worgen models. This is something that Chris Robinson talked to me in an interview about a year ago, that was something on the plate. So if they had a reason to do it, I feel like they would do it. I definitely think the new expansion will have lots of scaling. I think more likely than Naga. I'm sorry I keep looking over here. I just don't want to forget anything I wrote down. So again, I don't think we're going to get Naga, but I think it is a possibility that in lieu of getting a new true race, that maybe they'll offer some sub races to characters already in the game and new customization options. So you could be like an Iron Dwarf or a High Mountain Tauren or a Tonka or that's all the ideas I have off the top of my head, but I'm not a game developer. I'm sure there are other options as well. I'm just saying, okay, all right. I do definitely think that whatever the new expansion is at BlizzCon, there'll be a heavy focus on scaling old world content and making that old world content viable again, because so much of it is largely ignored. And we're already kind of seeing that with this whole Silithus thing coming in 7.3.5. I think we'll also get a more clear idea of what's happening to artifacts post-Legion, as well as whatever the progression of our mission system. So obviously we had garrisons in Warlords of Draenor, we had class halls in Legion. Will we get guild halls in whatever the next expansion is? I kind of hope so. I really do, because I feel like that would be a logical progression of events. Once again, I think there's going to be a big ol' focus on esports. Only in the Warcraft department, I think we'll see more focus on stuff like the Mythic Dungeon Invitational as opposed to like Battlegrounds, because that was really popular in our arena. I guess Battlegrounds isn't a good example, but like actual PvP, I think we'll see this esports PvE thing being a little more popular. I also think we'll probably get some news about upcoming books, because Christy Golden has now been hired as a Blizzard employee. So I think we're going to see more content in that department, and I think they're going to make a bigger deal out of that content. So TLDR all of this. I think there's going to be an expansion announcement. Blizzard has pretty much all but promised that. So I think there'll be an expansion announcement. I think the expansion will have to do with the old gods and Jaina, and that's kind of all I have there. I would love to see the Tinker class. I don't know that it's going to be a thing or not. I think that sub races are more likely than Naga. I really don't think Naga are likely at all. I do think we should see new Goblin and Worgen models, as well as additional customization options for characters in the game, like additional hair colors, hairstyles, stuff like that. But in general, I think a lot of what the leak says is kind of in line with what my thoughts are. So definitely check out the link in the info below for more insight into that. But I'm real excited to find out what's going on in the World of Warcraft at BlizzCon, because it feels like no matter what I say in these prediction videos, I am just 100% always wrong. So I love being surprised, and I'm okay with that. And finally, the last thing I wanted to talk about was new or potential like other things that will be announced at BlizzCon. Now, we've been getting a whole bunch of stuff involving the Blizzard launcher. Obviously, we have the app now where you can chat with people. There will be emoji. There's all these new social features. So I think that we're going to see something big involving that app or the launcher. And maybe they'll even announce the next non-Blizzard game to be going into the launcher, like Destiny. I don't know what the game would be, but they seem to really be focusing a lot on their launcher in their game store in these social features, so I feel like they're going to build upon that at Blizzard. Also, thank you so much to Birds for pointing that out to me, because that wasn't something I had really thought about prior, but it's a really good observation. I think we're also going to be getting a lot of information about upcoming cinematics for specific franchises, but also franchises all over the board. Obviously, you've got your Overwatch and your Hearthstone cinematics, but they've really been doing a lot in World of Warcraft lately. We've even seen some really cool stuff come out of Heroes of the Storm. So I think that we'll be hearing some more about what their cinematics team is preparing for us in the future. And finally, on the new game front, I do think we'll be getting an announcement of a mobile game. Last year, Alan Adham came back to Blizzard to head the incubation department, which is a team specifically working on new games games, and they've been doing a lot of mobile game hires in their, Blizzard job postings. They've been looking for mobile game developers and stuff like that. Overwatch, StarCraft both have systems that would lend themselves very, very well to mobile games. And also recently, Warcraft 3 was patched, so a lot of people have thought that there might be something going on with the Warcraft franchise. So it is possible that we could get Warcraft 4 or Warcraft Remastered. It's also possible that that is the mobile game, that is some sort of Warcraft, not World of Warcraft, but Warcraft RTS related thing for mobile games. And that was something that was pointed out to me by Method Dari on Twitter, which was a great idea, because honestly, where we were with PC technology when Warcraft came out, I mean, our phones are just 1,000 times better than that anyways. So if they wanted to remake that type of game, they could have it come out and be free to play and just give you different skins to put on your units, and they would still make millions and millions of dollars. And the mobile game industry is so profitable anyways. It's like a $40 billion industry, and some of the popular games make $1 million, $1.5 million, $2 million a day. So it makes sense that Blizzard would be wanting to go into that, especially with this whole promotion of a social app and this kind of Discord-y sort of feel. So I don't know. I'm real excited for BlizzCon though, especially I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't super familiar with who Muse was when the announcement was made, and I'm very familiar with a lot of their songs though. I just didn't know any of them were Muse. Like, I don't know if that makes any sense. I'd heard a lot of them on the radio and in movies and video games and stuff like that, but I had never like connected that they were Muse. So now I'm pretty excited to see them too, because I heard they put on an amazing show. Just all in all, my excitement for BlizzCon is very high. It's very high indeed. I'm real excited. I would love to hear in the comment section below what your predictions are, what you're most excited for. Let me know. If you enjoyed the video, please thumb it up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I'm gonna go. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I love you all. You're in my hearts. I'll see you soon. Goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye.